There is one free form your bank keeps in a drawer that makes your entire bank account skip the courts and go straight to your family in days. And almost nobody over 65 has ever been told it exists. Before I show you what it is, do one small thing for me. Subscribe and tap the bell. This channel is where I break down the money rules with your name on them that nobody official ever bothers to explain, and I'd hate for you to miss the next one. If you have a bank account and a family you'd want to leave it to, this next part is for you. Do not scroll past it. Picture a man I'll call Raymond, 74 years old. He kept about $38,000 in the same savings account he'd used for 30 years. The same branch, the same little passbook in the same kitchen drawer. Raymond was careful. He had a will. He thought that was enough. It wasn't. When Raymond passed, his daughter went to the bank to handle things the way you'd expect, and she couldn't touch a single dollar. Not one. The account was frozen. It went straight into probate, and it sat there for 7 months. 7 months. While she waited, she paid filing fees out of her own pocket. The mortgage kept coming. The funeral home wanted paying. All that money that was meant for her from her own father, was sitting right there behind a locked door, and she couldn't reach it. And here's the part that ought to make you a little angry. Raymond did nothing wrong. He wasn't foolish. He wasn't careless. He just never filled out one free form his bank kept in a drawer. One form. That's the whole gap between his daughter getting her money in days and his daughter frozen out for 7 months. And nobody whose job it is to hold your money is ever going to call you and tell you to fix that. Think about it. The bank isn't going to phone you up and say, hey, you've missed something. There's no letter coming in the mail. The system runs perfectly well without you knowing this. That's exactly the problem. So that's what today is about. The form is called a beneficiary designation. On a bank account, it goes by a plain name, payable-on-death, POD, POD. On a brokerage account, the investment account where you hold your stocks and funds, it's called transfer-on-death, TOD. And in a lot of states, that same transfer-on-death idea now covers vehicles and even real estate. Same job in every case. You name the person who gets it. And when you're gone, that account skips probate entirely and goes straight to them. Now, this is a short list of things you actually need to know. I'm not going to drown you in paperwork. But there's one point I'm saving for the very end, because it's the one that trips up the most people, and it's the one that matters most. How to name your beneficiary so it still works even if your first choice passes away before you do. Miss that, and this whole thing can quietly fall apart. So if you act on one thing today, it's that. The most important point I'm saving for last. Stay with me to the end for that one. Before we go further, let me knock down a wall that stops a lot of people cold. Some of you are already thinking, well, this is for rich folks with a lot to leave behind. And some of you are thinking the opposite. I've only got a little. This doesn't matter for me. Both of you are wrong. This form helps the widow with $9,000 in checking and the retiree with $200,000 in savings exactly the same way. The dollar amount doesn't change how it works. Do not count yourself out at your own kitchen table. Let me tell you who I am, so you know why I'm the one saying this. My name is Walter Hayes. For more than 15 years, I've read the fine print of these programs and these rules for ordinary families. The clauses nobody reads, the boxes nobody checks, the forms nobody mails you. I don't sell anything. I don't work for the government. I just read the rules so you don't have to. And here's what 15 years taught me. Being legally entitled to leave your money to your loved ones and actually making sure they get it without a fight are two completely different things. Raymond was entitled. His daughter still waited 7 months. So let me stop and explain the thing that trapped her, because you keep hearing the word and it sounds like lawyer noise. Probate. All probate means is the court process that proves who gets what after someone dies. A judge or the court confirms the will is real, checks who's owed money, and then decides how the accounts get handed out. And here's the catch. It takes time. Months usually. Sometimes the better part of a year. And it can cost real money and fees along the way. That's the machine Raymond's daughter got stuck inside, not because anyone did anything wrong, just because the account had no beneficiary named on it, so the only way to release the money was to run it through a court. That's what a POD form does. It takes that one account and lifts it clean out of the machine. No court, no judge, no 7-month wait. The person you named walks in, shows a death certificate and an ID, and the money is theirs, and often in days. But before you pick up the phone and ask for it, and I'm going to give you the exact words to say, you have to get one thing straight first. Because there's a myth about this form that gets people talked right out of their own money. It's the reason some folks fill it out and think they're completely covered when they're not. And it's the reason other folks hear about it, decide it can't be that simple, and do nothing at all. Get this next part wrong, and you either do nothing or you do the wrong thing. So let me tell you the exact truth about what this form does and what it does not do. So let's kill that myth right now, because this is exactly how people get talked out of their own money. A POD form is not a full estate plan, and it does not replace a will for everything you own. It only covers the specific account you attach it to. What is true, and this is the part they never tell you, is that on that account, the beneficiary you name gets the money directly outside probate, often within days of showing a death certificate and an ID. So hear me clearly. This is not magic. If you own a house, a car, other accounts with nothing attached to them, a POD form on your checking account does nothing for those. It reaches exactly as far as the account you signed it on, not 1 inch further. And I want to be fair about probate here, because I'm not selling you fear. The intention behind probate is good. The court is making sure the right person gets the money, that no one sneaks in and grabs what isn't theirs. That's a reasonable thing for a system to do. But the system is not set up to walk over to your kitchen table and hand your family the shortcut. It waits, it processes, it charges, and your daughter sits there for months while it does. So let's talk about what this form actually is, in plain English. For a bank account, your checking, your savings, it's called payable-on-death, POD. For a brokerage account, where you hold stocks or funds, the same idea is called transfer-on-death, TOD. And in many states, that transfer-on-death idea now reaches even further, to vehicles, and in a growing number of states, even to real estate. Same engine, different label. Here's the trap. Banks rarely offer it. They don't bring it up when you open the account. They don't mail you a reminder. The form sits in a drawer, and you have to know to ask. Because being entitled to pass your money cleanly and actually doing the paperwork are two completely different things. Nobody whose job it is to hold your money is ever going to call and tell you to fix that. Now the numbers. And I want you to sit with these. The form is free. $0. It costs you nothing but the 10 minutes it takes to fill in a name. Now look at the other side of that. Probate can eat roughly 3 to 7% of an estate, plus months of delay. Take Raymond's account, the $38,000 his daughter couldn't touch for 7 months. 3 to 7% of that is potentially over $2,000 gone. Just gone. Filing fees, court costs, the machinery grinding away at money that was already his. $2,000. Let me translate that into something real. That's a family's whole funeral bill. That's the number his daughter was scrambling to cover while the account that could have paid it sat frozen behind a courthouse window. Read that again. A free form versus over $2,000 and half a year frozen. $0 and 10 minutes on one side. $2,000 and 7 months of your family locked out on the other. That's the trade. That's the whole video in one line. And here's where people talk themselves out of it, so let me stop them. Some of you are thinking, I don't have $38,000, this isn't for me. And others are thinking, I have far more than that. I've got real lawyers, this is small potatoes. Both of you are wrong, and here's why. If you're the widow with $9,000 in checking, you need the speed more than anyone. You cannot afford 5 months of frozen money while the rent comes due. And if you're the retiree with $200,000, you're the one dodging the bigger percentage bite. 7% of a big account is real money walking out the door. Whether you have $9,000 or $200,000, this is money with your name on it. Do not count yourself out at your own kitchen table. Let me put a face on it. Picture a widow. I'll call her Margaret. Margaret added her son as payable-on-death on her checking account, 1 line on 1 form. When she died, he walked into the branch, showed the death certificate and his ID, and had access in 3 days. Not 5 months. 3 days. That's the difference between a son who can pay for his mother's funeral that week and a son standing in a courthouse line, filling out forms while the bills stack up. So how does that even work? How does he skip the whole court process that trapped Raymond's daughter for 7 months? Here's the mechanism, and it's simpler than it sounds. When you sign that form, the money passes by contract directly to the named beneficiary outside probate on a death certificate and an ID. By contract, that means the bank already has legal instructions on file about who gets it. There is nothing for a court to decide. The bank never needed the court's permission because you gave it your instructions in advance. The money never enters probate at all. It just steps around it. That's why it's fast. That's the whole secret. It's not a loophole and it's not a trick. It's a form the bank has always had, doing exactly what it was built to do. But, and I need you to hear this part, none of it is automatic. The bank will not add this for you. They will not notice you're 74 and gently suggest it. Nobody mails you this form. You are legally allowed to do it 100%. You just have to ask for it by name. The entitlement was always yours. The paperwork is the gap. And the gap is where families lose 7 months and $2,000. So you might be feeling pretty good right now. Free form, ask for it, name your person, done. And for most of what I've told you, that's true. But there is one mistake that quietly cancels this whole thing out. Stay with me. because this is the one I told you to wait for. Because here is the mistake that quietly cancels everything. You name one person, your daughter, your son, and you stop there. You feel finished. You feel safe. And what happens if that one person passes before you do? A car accident, an illness. It happens. The account you thought was protected drops right back into probate, the exact courthouse line you were trying to keep your family out of. There is a second box on that form almost nobody fills in, and it is the difference between this working and this failing. That second box, the one almost nobody fills in, is called the contingent beneficiary, the backup. Here's the rule that makes or breaks everything. Always name a primary and a contingent beneficiary. Name your first choice, then name a backup, so that if your first choice passes before you do, the account still skips probate and goes to the next person you named, instead of dropping right back into the courts you were trying to avoid. This is the one I told you to stay for. Do not skip it. This is the whole point. So let me make the failure plain, because it is quiet and it is common. You name one person, just one. Say it is your daughter. You feel good. You think it is handled. And then God forbid your daughter passes before you do. Now that free form has one name on it, and that name belongs to someone who is gone. There is no backup. And the account you thought you protected? It falls right back into probate. The exact court process you filled out the form to avoid. All that effort, undone by one empty line. Here's the whole thing in one breath. 2 names on one free form is the difference between your family getting the money in days, no matter what happens, and your family back in a courtroom, paying filing fees, waiting months. 1 name is a gamble. 2 names is a plan. It costs you nothing extra to write the second one. $0. 1 more line of ink. So let me give you the exact action and the exact words. This week, you call your bank. Not the branch you drove past once, the bank that holds your money. And when a real person answers, you say this, word for word, I want to add a payable-on-death beneficiary to my account. Please send me the beneficiary designation form. That one sentence is enough. You do not need to explain your family history. You do not need a lawyer on the line. That sentence tells them exactly what to pull out of the drawer. Then you fill out that form. You name your primary, your first choice. You name your contingent and your backup. You sign it, and you keep a copy for yourself in the same place you keep the will and the insurance papers. Primary and backup, both boxes. Then you are done. Now, before you make that call, I need to protect you from the one thing that shadows this exact topic. Because the moment people start thinking about beneficiaries, the thieves come out. Here is how it works. The phone rings. A calm voice says they are from your bank's security department, and they are calling to help you update your beneficiary. How thoughtful. Then, to verify your identity, they need your online login, or your PIN, or your account number. Stop right there. That call is a robbery in progress. No legitimate bank calls you out of the blue to update a beneficiary and asks for your login or your account number. That is not how any of this works. Say it out loud with me. My bank does not call me. I go to them. Stop. Hang up. Write it on a sticky note by the phone if you have to. Your bank does not call you. You go to them. The form is something you request, in person, or through a number you dial. It is never something a stranger offers you over the phone. Because remember the thread that runs through this whole thing. Nobody whose job it is to hold your money is ever going to call and tell you to fix it. And that cuts both ways. The real institution stays quiet. The thief is the one who calls. Now let me add it all up because I want you to see what this one free form is actually worth. Probate can eat 3 to 7% of an estate. On an account like Raymond's, $38,000, that is potentially over $2,000 in fees, gone. Plus the delay. Months where the money sits frozen while the mortgage comes due and the funeral bill lands on the kitchen table. So here's the math plain. 1 free form, 2 names, 5 minutes of ink against over $2,000 in probate costs and months of frozen access. That is what you were trading. Nothing for everything. Remember Raymond? 74 years old. $38,000 in the same savings account he had used for 30 years. He had a will. He thought that was enough. And when he passed, his daughter could not touch a single dollar of it for 7 months. Frozen, dragged through the courts, fees piling up. Raymond did nothing wrong. He just never filled out 1 free form his bank kept in a drawer. 1 free form would have ended his daughter's 7-month wait. He didn't know the option existed. Now you do. So here's exactly what I want you to do this week. Write these down. 1. Call your bank, the one that actually holds your account. This week, not someday. 2. Say the exact sentence. I want to add a payable-on-death beneficiary to my account. Please send me the beneficiary designation form. Ask for that form by its name. 3. Name a primary beneficiary and a contingent beneficiary. Both. Your first choice and your backup. That is the step almost everybody skips, and it is the step that saves everything. 4. Sign it, hand it back, and keep your own copy where you keep your important papers. 5. If you also have a brokerage account, a place where you hold stocks or mutual funds, call them too and ask about transfer on death. Same idea, same protection, different name on the door. Do those 5 things and you have handed your family days instead of months. You have taken the courts out of it. You have done, in 1 week, the thing Raymond never got to do. One last honest word, because you deserve the truth from me. This is general education, not personal legal or financial advice. Rules vary by state and by bank. Some states let transfer on death cover a car or even a house. Some do not. And every bank has its own version of the form. So confirm the details with your own bank or a qualified professional who knows your situation. A payable-on-death form is powerful, but it is not a full estate plan. It covers the account you attach it to, and nothing more. Know that going in. And then do one thing for me. Send this to one person you love who is over 65, a parent, a sister, a friend from church, because nobody official is going to call and explain this to them. No clerk, no bank, no government office. Send this to one person you love over 65. You might be the only one who ever tells them. If this helped you, subscribe and turn on the bell, so the next thing your bank keeps quiet, you hear about first. Take care of your people. Make the call this week, and I will see you next time.